When I worked in a traditional on-premises environment, I remember that a huge number of the calls to the IT service desk were related to user account problems, such as account lockout or forgotten passwords, especially after vacations. With Azure AD, Microsoft helped to mitigate this issue by providing a feature called Self-Service Password Reset. Instead of members of the IT service or help desk team needing to manage password resets, you can configure Azure Active Directory to empower end users to reset their own passwords directly from a browser or app. To use this feature, you first need to enable the Self-Service Password Reset option using the Azure AD Admin Center, as shown on screen. I've signed into my Azure Active Directory Admin Center, and under Manage, I'll select Password Reset. Here we can see the available options to configure this feature. I can enable the feature and select All, which will enable the feature for all my users. I can select a group of users, or I can configure it for no one to use. I'll allow the selected group and click Save. We then need to configure the options for the authentication methods that can be used. Under Manage, I'll select Authentication Methods. You can choose from a list which methods of identification a user must use to be able to reset their password. If I select 2, I can then choose multiple options. I'll select the mobile app verification and an email. The user will be able to reset their password if they select one of these options or 2. I'll click Save. The final stage is to configure the registration settings. I'll click Registration, and here we can choose what happens when a new user signs in for the first time. We can specify that the user needs to register their authentication information, and therefore this setting is typically set to Yes. If you set the setting to No, then an administrator can manually add the password reset information at a later stage. Once you've enabled Azure AD Self-Service Password Reset, you then need to inform your users of this feature. Microsoft suggests deploying the Self-Service Password Reset feature alongside deploying an app or service, as they found that this helps user registration and user buy-in. Because end-user adoption is crucial, Microsoft provides printable promotional material that you can use during the rollout of Self-Service Password Reset. This includes posters, email templates, and stickers, which you can download from the website on screen. Let's take a look. Some of the common self-service password reset error messages that you may encounter include: please contact your administrator. This is when an account is being managed by an administrator on premises, and so it cannot be self-reset. Account is not enabled for password reset. Self-service password reset has either not been enabled or it's only been enabled for selected users and couldn't verify account. This typically occurs when self-service password reset is enabled, but the user has not yet registered their information. And finally, if you look in your admin center and you can't enable the password reset feature, then it may be a licensing issue. Standalone Office 365 licensing plans don't support self-service password reset. You'll need a plan that includes Azure AD Premium P1, Premium P2, or Microsoft 365 Business.